What's up, YouTube world? It's your boy 22 Khalil, and I was reluctant to do this, but it's time to have some good old dialogue about the Houston Rockets. Now, as we've seen, the Houston Rockets went out to the Lakers at 5, and on the Lakers side of things, I couldn't be happier as a fan. Coming into the series, I expected the Rockets to really give us a tough time, which they really did until like the end of Game 3. But as much as I want to vent about the Lakers advancing, now ain't the time, because this video is about this Rockets team, man. Now, did we expect them to win a championship? To the majority of people, no. But to watch them lose the games in the fashion that they did, for example, Game 2. If it wasn't for Westbrook struggling, it could have easily been a different ball game with the Rockets leading 2-0. Then we've seen games 4 and 5. The Rockets simply just didn't show up or bring that type of energy and effort that we know they can. And coaching wise, it wasn't better either, because I think D'Antoni could have simply adjusted to Harden getting double teamed all the time. Because really, if D'Antoni could have adjusted to Harden getting double teamed, I think the Rockets could at least get the Lakers some more trouble. But the Rockets stay the same, and the same old problems reoccur for them every year. Now, I do think some of the credit should go towards the Lakers and Frank Vogel, mostly due to the fact that they're a great defensive team, and I thought he did very well adjusting to the Rockets' whole micro small ball plan. And as we got deeper into the series, you just got the sense that Frank Vogel had the Rockets kind of figured out, which is obviously kind of easy when your offense is just one or two guys creating offense with nobody moving. And of course, in typical D'Antoni fashion, he didn't adjust, and voila, you got what you got in games 4 and 5. Now, for all my Rocket fans out there, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, stay off of Twitter, because you guys already know it's bad for y'all. As we say on NBA Twitter, the streets are smoking on the Rockets pack right now. You already know how this goes. Y'all already know what the world thinks of Westbrook and Harden, so you know it's bad right now. I'm seeing people tired of Westbrook, I'm seeing people tired of Harden, people calling for D'Antoni to get fired, and from the sounds of it, a lot of Rocket fans just want to blow it all up. And look, I don't blame them for feeling this way, because the Rockets for some reason just can't get over that championship hump. Sure, they can always be that underdog that opposing teams don't want to face, but with the way their style is at the moment, it's really hard to really see them being a championship team. Like, yeah, this team can be a dark horse contender every year based off the fact that they have Russ and Harden, but against the top tier teams in the playoffs, do you trust them with this roster to win a championship? Probably not. But then that's another problem within itself, because with this team, you don't have the wiggle room to really make improvements to the squad. Eric Gordon is on a higher payroll, James Harden is on a high payroll, same with Westbrook. And if that's the case, to make improvements, you're going to have to make a trade. But even then, they might not have the assets to really get some better players in, because they damn near traded all their assets. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that they're in some shit. It's the hard reality, but look, that's the price of basically going all in. Now, I know Harden and CP3 didn't get along, but look, they probably would have meshed better than what Russ and Harden did. Really, the only team stopping them in the West at that time was the greatest team of all time in the Warriors. So it was kind of unfortunate to really see that Harden and CP3 couldn't come to common terms and run it back at least one more year. But let's stay on Westbrook, because man, he has regressed kind of quicker than I expected. And yes, I know he was up against Anthony Davis and all that, but look, we hold him to best point guard in the league type standards. Hell, some people think he's better than the likes of Curry and Dame. So we gotta hold him to these standards. And the reality of it is, besides maybe 2 games, Russ really didn't play well at all. And like I mentioned in my previous video talking about Russ, it's like every year it's the same thing when we talk about him. The questionable shot selection, the turnovers, and now in recent years, he's lost almost all his ability to shoot. Not sure, he can hit some bank shots from the elbow from time to time, but man, his shooting overall has regressed. Like, don't y'all remember when teams actually feared Westbrook shooting because he was a deadly pull-up mid-range shooter? Now it's almost like come playoff time, teams are okay with him shooting threes. Really, that was a big adjustment the Lakers made after game 1. They was like, alright, if Westbrook beat us with his jump shots, we are perfectly fine. But look, I'm afraid to say that we've probably seen the best of Russell Westbrook already. I'm afraid to say it, but I think he's starting to regress. And after having the series that he had, the Rockets are going to have to find some type of way to make him and Harden work. Because look, you can't trade him. For one, he's making money in the $40 million range the next 3 seasons. Like, what team out there is actually willing to take a declining 31-year-old point guard who's regressing the athletic and shooting department? Like, no offense, but even the Knicks are just smart enough to say, like, no, we gonna stay away from Westbrook at this point. Like, I don't know if this can get better, but at the moment, it's definitely looking like they lost that CP3 trade. Now, things might change and whatnot, but they get a new coach and all that. But man, with Westbrook keep having these little playoff relapses, it's just continuing to damage his legacy. Now, also, we need to talk about this Harden situation, because I think everybody's 50-50 on Harden when it comes to him being the overall problem in Houston. Well, hell, I think that's really what 65% of the NBA community thinks. Now, I do think Harden playoff blunders have been bad considering the standard that we do hold him to. But really, at this point, I think the main problems they have in front of Harden is really D'Antoni and Westbrook. Now I know Mike D'Antoni is a respected guy among the league and whatnot, but look, his lack of adapting and adjusting a playoff series is a very, and I mean very big problem for the Rockets. And honestly, this might be a spicy take, but truly I think it might be a blessing in disguise for James Harden. Because look, as good as Harden's been, he hasn't really been able to take that next tier jump in the playoffs. Obviously, he's a superstar, let's not get it twisted. He's really had like too many disappearing moments in the playoffs to really set that big boy table, with the likes of a LeBron, Kawhi, KD, hell, maybe even Steph. I really think that those four separate themselves due to the amount of signature legacy moments they really create in the playoffs. And with Harden, it's really kind of hard to find that signature playoff moment for him. At this point, there's really just way too many questionable games for him to really sit with the big boys. So when Twitter sees his fans compare him to Kobe and D-Wade, that's why people go Harden the way they do. They see these Harden stan accounts posting why he's the greatest scorer in the league and all that, like KD don't exist. Then they mention how he's a better scorer than Kobe and a better shooting guard than Dwayne Wade. That's probably the reason why Harden gets slandered the way he does. But yeah, back to the main point, I don't necessarily think that he can take that jump with Mike D'Antoni, mainly due to the fact that he's just too predictable to guard come playoff time. When it comes down to it, there's a reason why D'Antoni hasn't been able to win a championship in Phoenix and now in Houston. And the main reason for that is mainly due to the fact that D'Antoni hates adjusting. I don't know why, but he simply just doesn't like doing it. So when I see people say crazy things like Harden is the big problem in Houston, I'm like, no, D'Antoni is. The coach at the end of the day had to put the players in the best position to really succeed, no matter how good you are. Exhibit A, Coach Budenholzer with Giannis. For example, when Harden was getting double teamed, D'Antoni did an awful job at adjusting. Like everybody says, it's like Harden has the ball and everybody just sits around. And truth be told, they ain't lying. I repeat, I'm not getting Harden to pass, but look, if you give him a head coach that can really put him in better positions to really succeed rather than D'Antoni, Harden probably doesn't have as many bad playoff moments as he's had. And truly, that's why I think it's time for Harden and the Rockets to really get a new head coach. For example, I think the Mavericks is a perfect example of how they should use Harden. Still let James Harden run the show, but also add movement around Harden, like off-ball cuts and pick and rolls. Then also, I really wouldn't mind seeing Harden doing more off-ball stuff. I think that's truly the next part of him really taking it to that next level. And I see people talking about trading Harden due to the fact that you can't win a championship with him. Like, cut it out, guys. Like, the dude's probably a top 5 scorer we've ever seen play basketball, and taking the best team of all time to 7 kind of means something to me. It doesn't mean everything since they did lose that series, but at the end of the day, it does mean something. Like, come on. So ultimately with James Harden, I still think he can be that championship player. If they can get a coach that can really hold him accountable and get him to adjust to play off ball a little bit more and bring back the mid-range for him, then things might head in the right direction for Houston. And to look in the overall future of the Rockets, next year is going to be pretty big for them, because if they end up making 0 moves in free agency, then I'm afraid that the Rockets might end up in no man's land. Really a position where they're a playoff team, but come playoff time, they're not going to be threats to win a championship. Now, realistically, the biggest asset you can trade besides blowing it up right now is probably Eric Gordon, but he's getting $20 million a year, I believe. So let's see if Daryl Morey could pull a miracle off. But to the overall question of what the future holds for Houston, to be honest, I don't know. Truly, if anything, they look like they're going to be in no man's land. So for Houston, I do think that getting a new head coach in there to help Harden out would be the main priority for them. Now, if they can get rid of Westbrook, then I think that would be the best scenario. But at the moment, if you're Daryl Morey, you're probably just thinking that hopefully under a new head coach, this team's playoff failures go all the way. And honestly, it's not just a coach too. They got to get some more playmakers around Harden and Russ. Honestly, there's just too many one-dimensional players on the Rockets. They got to evolve and get some players that can actually take pressure off of Russ and Harden come playoff time. Whoa, hold up, wait a quick minute. As I'm recording this video, it's been reported that Mike D'Antoni is not coming back as the coach. Well, for majority of Rocket fans, that's pretty great. But in the words of Kobe Bryant, the job's not done. You still got to get some better pieces. And you got to find probably damn near the perfect head coach for James Harden. So this offseason is probably going to be a very critical one for the overall future of the Houston Rockets. So Rocket fans out there, let's just hope that Daryl Morey can pull a magic trick out of his hat and try to save this team. But anyways, comment down below and let me know what you guys think the Rockets should do. And also, don't forget to like and sub the things to help the channel grow. But look, I got Game 6 and Panther football to worry about. So until next time, it's your boy 22 Khalil. And as they always say in Japan, Jam out today. Peace.